Our schedules have been definitely hectic, even though it's summer and it's supposed to be summer break.
Yeah.
Brittany and I tried recording at her house, and I may have to try and smush in a couple of clips from it, but the kids were all playing in the pool. We were like, okay, we'll sneak over here, on the porch, like away from them. We'll kind of keep an eye and just like do a quick episode about our summer. And the whole family, all of the kids, husband, like everybody ended up basically sitting around, chatting with us, having their own conversations. It was too chaotic to put out as an episode, but it just shows, like, you can't predict what's gonna happen, and it's really tough to try and get everybody to sync up together. Welcome to Between Practices. We've got some new faces today. I have Julie, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Brittany got some stuff going on, but we wanted to add some new faces. So, Julie, go ahead, let us know a little bit about yourself, and we'll get started on our program.
Woo! Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Julie. So I got two little ones, not so little anymore. I have my daughter Layla, who's 12, and then my son Dom, who is 11. And I have to keep them busy so they don't fight each other. So we're travel ball has been that absolute go-to. They go out, play their hearts out, get super tired, and root each other on, which has been awesome. So we have a lot of that. I've eaten a lot of fast food, a lot of travel, a lot of extra things, I guess, like since it's all started. So it's been fun, and I've been on the journey with Kristy and Britt. So it's nice to kind of get asked onto the program to kind of
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yes, I'm excited that you were able to join. I'm Kristy, also host and, one of the masterminds with Brittany on Between Practices. And I've got my two kiddos too, 12, who goes to school with Layla, and 7. She's gymnastics, and then my older one is softball, but they always dabble into everything else too. So we'll get into talking about what it means to be trying to work and navigate mom life and travel, ball, and all that good stuff.
Fact.
So we were kind of chatting earlier just about the players and skills and how they can be completely skilled at what they do. Like, got all the stats, got all the stuff going on. But if they don't have that mental game, like behind them, and they're not meshing, and they're not feeling it on that side, things can go downhill pretty fast. So as like a parent, how do we navigate that? What do we do to kind of help our kiddos out?
Yes. Yeah. Like after the last couple of years through the different seasons, be it travel or rec ball or summer leagues or in between sports, even for them, a lot of it was, um, I guess, as far as attitude, really talking about effort. So I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, what kind of effort are you putting out there? And not just for your play, like your personal play when you're out there doing whatever particular sport it happens to be, but your effort in being a good teammate, I thought was like an extra aside. That person that is just one good comment away from being able to kind of get over that hump.
Uh-huh.
Um, whether it's like get out of their shell so they'll actually show up, just reminding them you're one bat swing away from hitting the ball and getting on base or doing whatever it is. So, uh, that being the most applicable thing currently. It's like, hey, just rooting them on, whether you might be a little bit in your feels because things didn't go the best for you.
Yeah.
Is like that keeping that attitude up really helps elevate everybody. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
Cause
so
one player kind of getting into their feelings and not overcoming that on the field, especially during like a game day, but even in a practice too. Like
Okay.
if one kiddo is feeling down, the rest of them can very easily get put into that like vortex.
Yeah.
So trying to get the others to help them turn it around,
Yep.
like let's pull them out instead of all of us coming in because misery loves company, right? It's so
Absolutely.
easy to want to complain or to get like sucked into the all the mistakes. I think it's a great life lesson for these kids to be able to see like, okay, we made a mistake. We might have like struck out, or missed catching the ball, whatever the play might have been. But how do we take it, reset, move on, and have a fresh new look like in the next play? That's like
Yeah.
a quick turnaround for them.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea. So my husband coaches for the folks that are out there. It kind of started off as like a nice little side act of like, oh hey, can you help coach? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like if you think that you're getting into it, like I'll kind of be there and help support.
Yeah.
Um, but he's very much a proponent when he was coaching the teams of just like, okay, I'm gonna let you feel it for a little bit, but it's like breathe it in, breathe all those tears and those anxiety and whatever it might be. And then he's like, and when you breathe it out, you got to let it go. And
Mhm.
he's like, and then we got to move on to the next thing. Um, so being able to kind of do that. And then again, it helps when your kid's on the team and he just elbows and is like, hey, be the extra. Help
Yeah.
help them breathe it out or and like lift them up, whatever, and fill that yucky space with something else.
My kid is definitely in her field. She's my kid. I am the same way. I was definitely an emotional kid. I can be an emotional adult, but with maturity, I've learned how to like, here's the time and the place. She's still learning it. And I love it because she's passionate, right? Like
Yeah.
she's in it. She wants to do well. Like she's really hard on herself if she's not doing well. But I have found your husband, Wade, has been awesome at helping her get out of those because he's so calm. He's like got the calm voice. He talks with her very matter of fact, like, hey, grand scheme of life, is this like worth all of these tears right now? Like, brush it off. Let's start again. It'll be okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. Versus when mom says it, like mom doesn't know what she's talking about. So it's nice that we're on that same page, that it's not just the car ride home,
Yeah.
me and Chris having to have because Chris coaches too. So he tries to talk from the coach lens, but he also tries to talk from the dad lens. We're all trying to like help pump her up when it's appropriate,
Yeah.
but getting the others who see her as, the athlete that she is, and like,
Yeah.
hey, this is one down time. This isn't your entire athletic career, right?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
can keep moving forward. And then having, your kids help like talk her up, like when the other kids do, when your peers do it, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Your peers are going to mean more than probably any of us combined.
Absolutely. I feel like when it comes to whoever the athlete is that we're talking about, in this instance, like Layla, or Harper, even for that instance, is just kind of like, hey, in that moment, their memory of any of the good stuff that they
Yeah.
did, it's absolutely, and there's like that will never happen again. It was a fluke.
Hmm.
So for anybody to come in and give them that perspective back, you're like, that you throwing away a good thing is the exact
Hmm.
same way you got to treat the bad thing.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
it'll only hang, or those things will only continue to happen depending upon which one you're going to gravitate and hold on to.
Yeah, and we try to like talk to Harper too, like the outside perspective, which now that she's in middle school, like she's starting to see like, oh, other people are watching me. And if anything, like around fourth grade is when that brain starts developing and they think everybody's watching them always. So
Yeah.
like prior to fourth grade, they're like, whatever, I'm just having fun. Everything's about me.
Yeah.
But in that like 10, 11-year-old mind, they're like, "Well, everybody was watching me." And in reality, everybody on that field thinks everybody's watching them. Like, so
Yeah.
they're hyper aware that other people could be looking at them. And so
Mhm.
they're really hard on themselves because they're like, well, everybody was watching. You're like, well, actually, just me. It was just me. Like, I was probably the only one paying that close attention to you. So, when you start crying or if you start getting really upset, like, yes, people are going to start watching you. And is that what you want them to see?
Yeah.
Like, do you want them seeing you getting this upset, or do you want them seeing you with your head on straight and like pushing through and having the grit to get through that, like one bad play or whatever might be happening out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, speaking of that, actually, was talking about that, like, oh, do you have the grit to kind of get over it? And what I've been seeing a lot lately, especially, like as AUSL is like really kind of climbing,
Hmm.
and all of that stuff where and I'm seeing a lot of like college recruiting things and they're just like, hey, that's part of it. It's not, oh hey, like I did the best and I was, 100 the entire time, especially when people are doing their showcases. They're like, that's great, but there's going to be a lot of really great people out here. Like, how do you act during those like adverse times? Like, how are you going to
Yeah.
react to it? Like, do you have the grit to kind of be like, okay, I got to push through. Like, this isn't the end of it. That part sucked. Now let's move on to the next thing. And they're like that. They make note of that too, just as
Yeah. Oh,
much as
yeah.
they do. Oh, you had a really good play.
Yeah, because are you coachable? What
Yeah.
happens when you miss the ball? What happens when you strike out? Like, and what if you're striking out looking? You're not even swinging, right? Like when
Hmm.
you froze for whatever, because I feel like it happens to all of them. Like they're standing there, they might be the most confident player, but maybe something got into their head and they just froze.
Yeah.
Like how do you gather yourself and take feedback?
Mm-hmm.
Like a coach is going to give you feedback. How are you going to take that feedback? Are you going to yell back at them like, no, I'm right? Like
Hmm.
maybe you feel like you're right in the moment, but how do you respectfully have that conversation? And we try to teach that to Harper. Like if a coach is telling you something,
Hmm.
and I gave the example, and I usually give this example. She was doing rec and she was doing travel. And so you were getting different feedback from rec coach, a travel coach, well, several travel
Yeah.
coaches, and a hitting coach, right? So you've
Hmm.
got a bank of like four, five, six different adults telling you how to play this game. And there's more than one strategy,
Yep.
and sometimes a strategy might work in one situation, but not in another. And it might depend on your team, like the strengths of your team.
Mm.
And so she's like, but they're telling me this, and my other coach would tell me something different. So it's okay, Harper. Either A, you got to think in your brain through it's that softball IQ. Like, how does this game play? How do I use that information so
Hmm.
that it makes sense and it works? Or if you go through that in your brain, and at 10 years old, I don't know
Yeah.
that she can fully go through that. If it's not making sense, then how do you ask your coach? How do
Yeah.
you say, "Hey, can you run that with me?" Or, "Hey, can you explain that a little better?" But not in a tone that's like, "Explain yourself,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I've seen parents try to come in and have that conversation, but I don't feel like that should be the first go-to, at least when I'm talking with Harper, and this goes with school too. Like, if there's something going on between her and a teacher, like if it's the schoolwork or whatever the case, I try to have her navigate it first so
Yeah.
that she builds the confidence and the communication skills and, like, to do that, because she's one that'll just be silent and shut down. And I'm like, that's not gonna help you in life.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to get over the hump of, if this is meaningful to you, have the conversation. So she's been working on it, and she'll sometimes do it and sometimes she doesn't. And she deals with that consequence, like you didn't have the conversation. And so you made a bad play,
Yeah.
like, because you didn't fully understand it. And it happens in practice, all that stuff. Um, so I think that grit right there. being able to talk to someone older than you and being able to
Yeah.
discuss all of that stuff before mom and dad have to come in, because I want it by the time we get to that conversation with a coach or with a
Mhm.
teacher, it should be, you've talked with Harper like multiple times. She's not understanding it, so maybe we can help bridge like that
Yeah.
miscommunication. And then
Yeah.
it's more or less, I've lived with her all her life, so here might be where the misunderstanding's happening.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be, hey, I'm gonna fix this for her. You know, I that's kind of our philosophy, is that we want
Yeah.
her to build that.
Like on as they're doing these things, as we continue moving on, and because we have to balance, right? Like because we both have to, like I'm going to be there for as much of it as is humanly possible. Um, but when those schedules conflict, I'm kind of
Mhm.
like, can you advocate for yourself? Like in
Mhm.
those moments? Um, and like you mentioned, that tricky thing of I had one coach tell me to do this, but you're telling me to do this. So I'm like, okay, in that instance, sometimes they are opposites, but
Mhm.
to a degree, they're both trying to go down the same path. They're
Yeah,
just doing it slightly
in
different.
different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're just like, well, that's not what so and so said. And I was like, that's a hard way to start a conversation, especially,
Right.
coach to athlete.
Mhm.
So you're like, hey, how do I have that conversation with somebody else and kind of help somebody through that so they can advocate for themselves? So when they don't understand, what do I do? Um, I guess at some point they're going to come across it because they've had so much training and so many coaches at this point, like saying what works for them.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that doesn't mean don't try what they're saying, but at some point something might not be a good fit,
Mhm.
as far as whatever wherever their skill set is. Like if we tried to do like slap hitting with Layla, which essentially you'd have to switch hit. And she's
Yeah.
like, that side is not gonna work. She's like, I've gone righty for way too long. Like that
Right.
swap to left is she's just like my brain can't.
Right.
And it just turned into just this, like I'm bashing my head up against a wall about it. We were just kind of
Mhm.
like, all right, like she's like, feel like I could put more effort towards something else and get better that way
Mm.
instead of continue to do this thing and have that kind of eat me up. So
Right.
like having that kind of side conversation, like after the meltdown, after the
Right.
like I can't, like this is just like I'm not, and I'm not capable, and blah blah blah. And I was like, she's like, and the left side's dumb, like whatever it might be.
Right. Right.
um, is to like sit down and then be like, I don't I don't think this is helping me, and I'm
Mhm.
getting in my head about other things because I can't do this thing. And we're like, okay, we need to shift. So I
Well,
thought,
and that's a mature, like, for them to be able to have that insight is, that's building maturity too, to be able to reflect, like, here's the things I'm capable of, here's the things I have potential for, because sometimes it's a potential thing.
yeah.
Like, you don't feel like you can do it right now because you're just learning it. Versus, I know I could eventually get here, but right this minute, is it the best time for me to be putting all of that energy into that? And man, I love a slap hitter too. That's like my favorite.
Yeah,
My favorite thing. So it would be heartbreaking for me to have the conversation of like, all right, I guess we won't try it today.
I know.
But
But it's so cool. I was like,
it is.
fine,
It's like my favorite.
that's fine.
But yeah, that can be tough. On the flip side, because we've definitely all had the conversation of, hey, wasn't a good game.
Ooh.
Maybe you put in your best effort. Other people might not have, or they were having an off day. That's building them up. But how do we have the conversation where they had a stellar game? They won everything, got through a whole tournament,
Mhm.
took home the prize, and now they've got the inflated ego.
Ooh.
So it works in both ways. Good sportsmanship. Yeah, you got to understand how to lose a game. Like they're
Oh
feeling really
yeah.
good. So balancing out, be proud of yourself, feel good, but also be aware of how you're coming across to other people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was a bit of hey, be careful. Like your poop does stink. Like, it's not all roses. Like you gotta recognize. Like,
Yeah,
be proud though. Absolutely.
but be
Clap yourself on the
gracious.
back, everybody else. But holy cow, yeah. And for some of that, um, I think we see it a lot. Definitely more in softball than I did in baseball, is
Mm,
that like the screeching when they start to cheer to be like in your
mm,
face, you know? Like we are crushing you right now. And I was like, hey, maybe those are not the cheers to use right now.
right, right. That kind of brings me to a different point. I've been seeing a lot online, and it is the baseball versus softball. And a lot of comments when I see these posts it's like 50-50. I feel like I see a clear divide and a clear split. And part of me wonders if it's like the baseball softball parents versus the pure softball parents.
Oh,
Because like I don't really have any other than like as a kid going to the little league that was like in my neighborhood and like
yeah,
watching the kids play there. I really never watched any kind of baseball, like little league baseball, um, recently. But the cheers definitely seems to be a softball
yeah,
like thing that like everybody's really big into with the softball, baseball. I'm hearing that sometimes they cheer or might like, cheer each other on when they're at bat, but it definitely feels more softball y. And some of those cheers can be like, you're allowed to be excited, you're allowed to be proud, but we also need to be good sports and consider that there are humans on the other side that
yeah,
are hearing you,
yeah, yeah.
like navigating that.
So, yeah, like that was something else. Especially, I mean, I imagine like Britt and with McKenna, like that's absolutely a thing, right? There are so many cheers that are geared towards pitchers
Mm,
because they're part of every single play. They start it. So, like with that in mind, there's a lot of cheers that are like, "Hey, you're not,
yeah.
you
Like
are,
the
you are a
grounding it's
dumpster
too
right now."
high. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
and
few with the
so,
catcher though too. I mean, they try to get the
oh, the
catcher on.
taunts, yeah,
Yeah, and then it turns into like a whole, which is, I guess, the purpose of that whole cheer is to get
right,
them
yeah,
to get, inside their own heads and kind of impulsively make that throw.
yeah,
So I could see
yeah,
that. The catcher is a tough spot. Like Layla, she's in, that's not an easy position. I would even argue that pitcher is definitely obvious. Like that's the obvious.
yeah,
Like they're running the show. That's pretty obvious. But if that catcher isn't in their headspace and they're not fully engaged, like it's a two-way street. They have to be just as on it as that pitcher.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. She definitely feels that way where she was just like, okay, like, what do we got to do to get together? That was something that we had to talk about
Mm,
where, um, especially with the whole attitude piece, I'm like, it's not just how you're doing back there. Cause I was like, I get it. You're hot. We're all hot.
mhm,
And you want to make the argument for like, well, I'm extra hot because I have an extra layer. And I was like, absolutely. You're putting work in back there for sure. Um, with a little extra. And I'm like, but when you two aren't jiving and like they're having a
mhm,
hard time and the cheers are getting to them or they need a break, like how you support them in that effort.
mhm.
Or when you had a couple throws that didn't make it, or there were some pass balls and some girls scored, or that drop third. So that pitcher's just like, listen, I've struck out 9 girls. Like, I don't know how many in
Right.
this one inning, but that drop third is killing me. So,
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like, what are you doing to me? And I'm like, no, yeah, like all of that is there. I was like, but if we start infighting, I'm like, ladies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
So how do you support each other, talk positive, but genuine positivity too,
mm,
not the toxic, like everything's just going to be great. Okay, not everything's always going to be great,
yeah,
but how do we get out of it? And I've seen like because I did a little research into this when Harper was kind of in her slump and things just, she'd be up at bat and it just wasn't she wasn't driving. She was constantly worried about how things were going to go and she was thinking about it too much. And even
yeah,
her hitting coach was just like, just swing. Like, you know what to do. Just swing. You're thinking
mm,
too much about it.
yeah,
So we kind of looked into some just psychological, things, mental games to kind of play as you're in the moment. And you have to practice them off the field before you
yeah,
can practice them on the field. It's like muscle memory for anything else. Like that's what
yeah,
agility is for, right? If your muscles aren't ready to do it when you're in the heat of the moment and everything's going, you're not going to think of it. But it's basically you kind of give yourself a basic reset, like a trigger word that'll help you reset, or like a memory or a place that you kind of go to
hmm,
kind of get yourself to calm down and, you know, do what you need to do to get back into the game. And I think I've seen Harper do that better.
okay,
Like she's definitely been able to feel, okay, here's what it's like to hit the ball. I'm just going to, I know what a good pitch is, have that confidence. I know what I want to swing at. Does it work every
mm,
time? It never works every time for everybody. Like,
yeah,
but she's got more coping mechanisms on how to overcome that.
yeah.
When she's overtired, you know,
Oh,
it's
all the
gonna
tired.
it's gonna disappear, So like how do we utilize lived experiences,
Hmm.
like when she's overtired at a game and they don't win and we're on the ride home and I go, "Hey, you feeling tired today?" And she's like, "I am." I'll be like, "How did today go for you?" When we say, let's go to bed early, what do you think? And I do know she very much, more than my younger one, Delilah, Harper very much will take a current experience, a negative one. She likes to live through those, I feel like, and take that and go, "Hey, what worked, what didn't? How can I fix that for next time?" And she
Okay,
will take to heart
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I did not get a good sleep." I can probably guarantee you every tournament and every game here on out, she's probably going to go to bed early. She will put in a concerted effort of, I need to make sure that I get a good night's sleep so that I perform at my best. And even if I perform at my best, if things don't go well because the rest of the team wasn't jiving, I can have a good attitude, to help lift up my team.
Yeah.
Um, cause that can be tough when you're tired, when you're hungry, when you're
Yeah.
deprived of all those things.
Yeah, but that's absolutely it because you're just like, it just compounds. And then when you do that, that means you carry it,
Uh-huh.
And so that's not, it doesn't help the tired. It doesn't help, the
Uh-huh.
hunger. It doesn't take any of those things away. You've just added on top of it. Um, and trying to have those conversations. And sometimes it's trying to figure out when to have that conversation with her. Or I'm like, oh, like, is this a good time to kind of like edge in, or do I need to give it a little bit more of a breather?
And that's
Or,
hard. That's hard to give the breather as like a parent.
ugh,
Like,
it's,
because you're like, I can help you. Like, here's what it is. I can see the whole like thing. Just listen. But when they're already like seeing red, you're
hmm.
making them see like black. Like, it's
Oh my
gonna
gosh.
go,
Yes.
so because as a toddler, right, you've seen them grow up. So, as a toddler, you were able to feed them or give them a hug or,
Yeah.
give them a band-aid and you fixed it and everything was great. But then as a teen, you're making it worse. And so it's so hard to like, to be like, okay, just go. learn.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just a little bit of a surprise, especially for the ones where we're like, I was being nice, like I was being
Yeah.
supportive. I was like, oh well, you did this really good thing, but then they'll fire back with the but we still lost, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
It's all right. It's okay. I'm gonna
And
move
you're
on.
like,
You're 12.
yeah. I was like, okay, all right, that's fine, it's okay. Um, no, so this one was pretty recent as far as like trying to think of things where it almost felt like things were turning a little too black and white. It was like either I'm 100%
Mhm.
perfect and this is going to happen, which means we win, or, one mistake's going to lead to five more and that's the end and we lose and everything's the worst. And and it'll just never get better until some magical thing happens. I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
So it was a bit of that visualization that I think you touched on a little bit, but you're just like, okay, it's not just black or white. It's not I'm perfect and we win, or I'm not and we lose. I was like, add more of the what ifs. So it's not
Yeah.
just these are the only outcomes that it could be. And you're like, nope. You're like, if you've seen it in the games. You're just like, oh,
Mhm.
there was a mistake one time, but I rocked out the next one or whatever it was. Or it was a completely different play. I just had to get out of the inning or
Mhm.
I need to go cry it out, whatever it was going to be. But I'm like, all of those things count. All of those outcomes count, but to allow yourself to visualize,
There you
holy
go.
cow. I was gonna make a whole new word up. Yeah, it's just being able to see that for themselves, that there is so much in between of how that's going to go. And then recognize you don't live in that vacuum. You play a
Mhm.
team sport. So,
Mhm. Yeah, you could be having the best day of your life, but if somebody out in the outfield's not having a good day and you go and someone smacks a ball out there and they're trying to throw it at you and they don't make it, like how do you recover from that? How do we get there? And I think kind of circling back to coaches and things like that, communication is huge. If you're out on the field, you have to be able to talk with your teammates and feel comfortable talking with
mhm,
them. That's an attitude too, or if you think that you're the worst player on the team or you think that you're the best player on the team and you shut down either way,
mhm.
you've lost one link in the big chain of a team, and that weak link is going to be the demise of that whole chain. Like
Oh,
everybody needs to be feeling that.
yeah. Yeah, that's so super true. And I feel like, now that our our girls are in middle school and there are cliques in school and like is it going to get worse when they go to high school? Who knows? But I'm like this is where you really kind of see that
Hmm.
um with the melting pot of all the elementary schools kind of coming together um and seeing what that's like and then wondering what that's going to be like on the field with the girls. I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I hope it doesn't get cliquish.
Hmm.
I was like, absolutely form the tight bonds. Absolutely do that. And it doesn't have to be it's all of us or not. I was like, like you can have your best friend on the team. That's totally fine.
It's all about that learning how to communicate.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So getting to see that for them out there is gonna be
Yes,
something
yes.
else.
Like the softball camps,
Yes.
because that was a really nice way for them to be able to just see girls of all different ages and all different skill sets. So they can humble themselves by seeing girls that play better than them and learn from them.
Yeah.
And at the same token, they can kind of boost their egos up a little bit because there's kids that they can teach too and that they can kind of show off skills to as well. So it's a nice like balance where they're learning and refining techniques, but also they're not seeing the same 10, 12 girls day after day. Like they can be exposed to other players.
Yeah. Honestly, I want to say, with our new team, right, is being able to see the girls be like, hey, like you girls have improved so much. Like now it's your time to be that peer support
Mhm.
and help them on their journey to get to where you are and for you guys to kind of grow together. I was like,
Mhm.
this is that opportunity because as you mentioned, like in the camps, or any of the tryouts that we had is being able to see those different levels of play.
Mhm.
So it's been awesome to see that I'm like, okay, who's willing to like pick people up and be like, all right, let's ride this together. Um, or the ones that are out there for the like, let me just show you how awesome I am, which I
Right.
want them to have a bit of that confidence, but I want it to be a shared
Yeah.
experience.
Like, we should be cheering all of them on, right? We're not just cheering our own kid on, like, and same for them. They're not just cheering themselves or their best friends, it's cheering everybody. And sometimes you gotta have it brought to your attention, and sometimes it just naturally, happens, and I think that it's a muscle just like anything else. The more you do it, the more you practice it, the easier and more natural it gets. Some girls just naturally are like that.
Yeah.
Like, they just go out there and they're like, "Yeah, man, let's go. We got this." And then others, they're kind of, they're introverts and they're into their own thing and they're not quite there.
Yeah.
And we just kind of teach them, "Oh, here's a simple thing you can say." Right? You should say it every single time. And then after a while, you listen to other people and it's brought to your attention that there's more than one thing that you
Yeah.
can say, and you build it up, build that muscle
Yeah.
up.
Ugh, man, I am so stoked just to see what that's going to look like, as our girls kind of come together and like watching them do that.
Uh-huh.
Watching them have just this carefree, I love the sport. I like the
Yeah.
girls that are around me. Like I'm having a fun time. Not to say that they didn't have their own emotions,
Oh,
but
and they will.
because oh
I
my gosh, they
mean,
did. But I was like, oh, great. You cheered on your own team, you cheered on girls from the other team, and they're just like,
yeah.
we're all having a blast. Like, that's great. They were trying out new things. I
Mhm.
love that they were pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
Like seeing that growth in their attitude and that confidence of just, oh, I can try this and it's gonna be
Mhm.
okay. And then heck, when it worked out and their freaking faces,
Yes. Yeah. And how
like,
excited they get for each other, like, it's always so
oh
cool.
man, I was like, that is the best. I was like, I love that you guys have these memories and that you talk about them
Mhm.
kind
Yeah.
of a lot and that I feel like it's spread to other areas where I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, your confidence there and your success out there is just giving you a boost to be, I don't know that successful as that, but it's to put yourself out in like different situations because
Yeah.
this worked out so well
I
where they're just
I'm
like,
notice I'm noticing that with Harper, with band.
oh,
Just because band was new. Now, I've taught band, but that doesn't mean that energy just transfers automatically. Like, there's still some practice that has to happen with that too. And she got invited to, as a seventh grader, play with the eighth grade band. So she was like all excited for that. And now she got the music, and we have concerts already starting up, like parades and all that stuff. So she looked at it and she's like, "Oh, this is like going to be hard." And I was like, "Well, it's eighth grade music." I was like, "But like, one, I can work with you if you want me to, and
yep,
we can like break it down and we can get." So we were kind of working on it. And I said, you can't expect that it's perfect the first time you do it. Like, she has a very hard time with it not coming naturally, things.
okay, yeah,
But all of her life, like even in gymnastics, she was doing, like, she was young doing gymnastics, and they had a competition and she wanted to be the prettiest cartwheel. And she got so upset the first year that they had this competition that she didn't get the prettiest cartwheel. And I was like, "Well, you keep practicing and try again next year." And
yeah,
she kept practicing. Next year, she got prettiest cartwheel. You know,
yeah,
softball, she was upset that she wasn't hitting the ball, wasn't hitting the ball. And I was like, "Well, you got to keep practicing." So she practiced. And then she finally is starting to like hit the ball. Like, it's finally like, boom, oh, I get it now. And she can hit the ball.
yeah,
And so the same with trombone. I was like, "You've done this all your life." And she's like, "Oh, well, yeah." Like, I bring
yeah.
these
I
things
guess you're right.
back to her attention. She's like, "All right." I was like, you have to recognize that everybody's a beginner at some
Yeah,
point,
yeah,
and sometimes you you get beginner's luck and you just naturally pick up on things, but at some point in your journey, whether it's music or gymnastics or sports or theater or singing, you're going to hit something that's going to challenge you, and
Hmm.
you're going to have to break it down, and you're going to have to practice it. And then it may not ever get easier or easy, but it'll get easier.
Yeah.
So she's like, all right, okay. So then she went to like a rehearsal with the other kids, and she did jazz for like the first time. She really wanted to
Okay.
be in jazz. And I was like, all right, which is not an easy thing to just jump into your second year playing an instrument.
Yeah.
But she went to the rehearsal, and I told her, I was like, hey, these kids have been playing. Please don't expect that you're just going to naturally be able to pick up this instrument and pick up this music and be like playing right along with them. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay if you're just hanging on.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever, mom. And she like, went in, and I picked her up a few hours later, and I was like, how'd it go? She's like, well, they were playing really fast, and I was just trying to keep up. She's like, but it was all right. I had fun. And I was like, okay. So like, you know,
Yeah.
the lesson learned that, and I said, as you get going, you'll pick it up. It'll get there. Like, it's your first day doing it. So I was proud that she didn't beat herself up over it that
Yeah.
first time going, because that's a huge, huge step for her on her like maturing, I guess.
Right. Well, and you're like, bottom line, you're already getting moved ahead
Yeah.
of of where supposedly you're expected to be. So the fact
Right.
they're already stepping you up, and then for
Right.
you to add more of expectation on top of it, you're just like, that's okay. And coming up against the challenge, I was like,
Hmm.
that makes you, or in my opinion, helps you understand something more wholly when you have
Hmm.
to come at it at different angles because the first attempt didn't work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Right. Like, if you don't fail, then how do you learn to succeed? Like, you have to fail a million times before you're
yeah.
gonna like really get a big toolkit of things that you can use to overcome whatever it is. And all of these skills, this grit, like all this stuff is going to come in handy with so many things in life,
Oh
not
my gosh,
just
yes.
sports, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah, that's been
being,
coming across a lot where it's just like, oh, that's going to help you in school. It's like, as you progress through whatever your career happens to be, like
Mhm,
those decisions and how you react then and creating that foundation now, like that's going to be allows you that opportunity to try it out more often, right? So the more that you do it, just the
mhm.
better that you're going to be at it. And you're going to be able to be more flexible in so many situations.
Yeah.
So,
Like, just think of the simple job interview, right? Like, the pressure of getting a job, doing the interview, thinking you nailed it, not
yeah.
recognizing there's someone that did it just a little bit better and maybe
Yeah.
got that job and you didn't, right? Like,
Yep.
how do you handle that rejection? But when you're trying out for all these different teams, then you may not make all those teams. So how do you handle that rejection? Do you handle it with grace, or do you like come out swinging? Coming out
Yeah.
swinging is not going to get you the job the next time that interview comes around, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to burn that bridge, and then you're in a situation where that person's the boss for the next interview. Like,
Oh gosh. Yeah.
you want to make sure that you go, all right, well, I didn't get that one. That wasn't my fit. There's probably something else that's better suited for me. And that
Yeah.
might happen several times over. You're not always going to get the job the first time around.
Hmm.
Or you interviewed for 5 jobs and you can only pick one. Maybe you do get offered everything. How do you gracefully tell somebody, no, I'm actually got offered a job somewhere else, and if they really want you that bad, maybe they give you a better offer for something. So
Yeah.
you like Harper and I have done many pros and cons lists on things, like, here's why you might want to say yes to this and no to this, or
Yeah.
vice versa, and they might come out really close to equal. So how do you decide which thing you're going to go for. And it's not always an easy choice. So I think them having a chance to do it while under our umbrella with us to help guide them
Yeah.
when they become
Yeah.
adults, they have all these tools in their toolkit to be able to navigate those things that a lot of people I've seen some people not be able to navigate very well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's great that she can and that she's executed it with you on multiple occasions, her pro and con list for things. She did that for softball, right? Like
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, like which one am I really going to focus on?" And I'm like, "Oh, the fact that you can you're just like, okay, like let me sit with it and like think about it versus
Mhm.
the like fly by the seat of my pants or
Letting
I
your
mean,
emotions kind of control the whole narrative.
that one's a big one
That's
for
tough.
sure.
It's
Cause
tough.
and that those emotions could change on the day, like when you ask that question.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay. So just being able to like lay those things out on the table.
And
Um,
we're getting into middle school, having taught middle school and taught an elective in middle school, meaning it was band, so kids chose it.
yeah.
My job as a band director was to get as many numbers as I could to sign up because I want to keep my program thriving and I want to keep it moving. But from a teenager point of view, what are my friends doing?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the pro side to that is maybe I can get them and 5 of their friends to join
Yeah.
band. The con side of that is I have one person who really loves it and 5 people that are like, "Why am I in here?" You know?
Oh, okay.
So, do I build it up that I can get them to feel successful, like as a coach, as a teacher, as a parent, that they can feel successful and they can find those hidden talents that they didn't realize they had?
Hmm.
Or were they only doing it because their friend was doing it? They don't
Oh,
have any heart behind it. They don't have the motivation behind it. Like I have seen that and it happens in sports too, like yeah, my friends are all joining, but did they really want to be on that team or were they just there because their friend is there?
oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like you really kind of started to see that. Like who was there for the love of the game?
Mhm.
Um, like who was actually trying and who was just like, "Oh, this is extra time with my friends." Um,
Right.
and how that kind of came across.
Mhm.
And then as they kind of progress through, where coaches or kind of like from Wade's perspective, that'll speak to that coachability where you're just like, "Oh, like this person actually wants to grow."
Mhm.
So it's not going to be, in one ear out the other when I'm talking to them and trying to teach them something
Mhm.
because frankly, they don't care, and there's that one that absolutely does and is just hungry. And they're like, I
Mhm.
will eat whatever you put my way. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that definitely comes out on the who wants it, who doesn't. And then I want to say we've had a few girls that were kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of fun and have really kind of gravitated towards it. They just like,
Mhm.
yeah, actually, I'm going to grab on. Like, I loved it. It was great. I did make good friends. I managed to play well. Like, I learned a lot. I got a lot better. And
Mhm.
I was like, I'm going to keep on it. I'm like, yes, that's what we want.
Yeah, yeah, like once you kind of motivate them and then at the end of the day they have to want it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Like you can do all the things and all the right things. And if they're just it's just not their thing, it's just not their thing. So understanding when to let go. That
Oh.
was that was tough for me as a band director because I mean, it was my job. So it's like I want everybody to stay here and I wanted multiple people to stay. But every once in a while, and it didn't happen often, but every once in a while, I'd have a kid that just music was just not their thing. It just was not what they enjoyed. It was difficult. They had other things that they were prioritizing. And so it was kind of a mutual like, listen, if it's not your thing, you're not hurting my feelings by
Yeah.
doing what you love. You know what I mean? Like go play whatever other thing, or if you wanted to do shop, or if you wanted to do art, like, creating things, visual arts kind of stuff. Like at the end of the day, I want you to do what you enjoy. I don't want you to feel forced to be, doing
Yes.
something you hate. Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't serve anybody. That brings down the morale of the team or the morale of the group. Like, you gotta be able to enjoy it for yourself too. So that's
Yeah.
a whole different, like, mindset.
Yeah.
I think we had some really good conversations today. I think we definitely touched base on being coachable, why it's important, where that can lead, all the way up even through college and professional. I'm sure even in professional sports, those guys are and gals are, they're watching from a young age. They're checking out to see how they grow because we all have to mature. So mistakes are going to
Yeah.
be made. They can't expect everyone to be perfect from the beginning. But can you change? Can you grow? Can you learn? And that's what people are looking for. That's what the adults are looking for.
Yeah. Exactly.
All around. All around. We're all looking. Julie, I appreciate that you hopped on with me today to have a chit chat. And I'm sure when all the moons and the suns and the stars align, we'll meet up again. We'll have
Right?
more conversations. And now that the seasons are getting started, I'm sure we'll have more sideline chats.
Oh, yes.
And
We'll be watching our husband's coach. So,
it'll be fun.
which will be, again, a whole other conversation. So, thanks for having me, Kristy. Yeah. And until the next time.
Yes, I appreciate it. We'll chat later.
Share your stories on the mental game in sports or group activities. Remember to like, share, and follow for more on parenting in the age of endless after-school activities. Thanks for being a part of our adventures.